You are listening to PR Radio Station of America.
Deivy Aleman arrived at the southern border 7 years earlier with little more than determination. He wanted a better life, one where he could raise a family without fear. He crossed into the United States and settled in Miami, where he worked hard and built a home with his wife, Yisel, and their daughter, Kira. He was issued an I-220B, an order of supervision that allowed him to remain in the country if he complied with strict rules. Deivy followed every requirement. He checked in with ICE on schedule. He never broke the law. For years, he believed that if he did everything right, he could remain by his family's side. In early 2025, Deivy attended another routine appointment with immigration officials. He expected the same as always: sign papers, answer questions, and schedule the next check-in. Instead, officials gave him a devastating message. He was told that if he did not self-deport to Cuba, he would be forcibly deported and permanently barred from ever returning to the United States. It was a crushing ultimatum. If he stayed, he risked losing all chance of seeing his daughter in the U.S. again. If he left, he faced the pain of separation but kept a sliver of hope that he might one day come back legally. At 40 years old, Deivy was not only a husband but also the father of a 2-year-old girl with a serious heart defect. Kira had already undergone open-heart surgery, and doctors warned that more procedures were ahead. Her health was fragile. Every hospital visit, every sleepless night, made Deivy's presence all the more vital. To him, fatherhood was not just about love, but about being there, physically, to hold her hand when she was afraid. The idea of leaving her during her most vulnerable years felt unbearable. The decision consumed him. Friends advised him to stay and fight, but the threat of permanent exclusion loomed. Lawyers warned him that immigration rules had hardened and that staying might close every legal door forever. His wife pleaded for a way to keep him home, pointing out that he had no criminal record and had done everything by the book. Yet the system offered no compassion. Self-deportation was the only option if he wanted even a chance of return. For Deivy, it was like being forced to choose between two impossible futures: one of permanent exile or one of temporary separation filled with uncertainty. In the end, Deivy made the choice no father ever wants to make. He agreed to leave the United States voluntarily, not because he wanted to, but because he hoped it would keep a door open for his return. In interviews, he admitted, "Returning has been one of the toughest decisions in my life." His heart remained in Miami with his wife and daughter, but his body would soon be on a plane back to Cuba. The countdown had begun to the moment he would have to look his family in the eyes at the airport and say goodbye. The morning of his flight, Miami International Airport became a stage for heartbreak. Deivy arrived with his wife Yisel and their little girl Kira, holding her hand as if letting go would break him completely. He carried no heavy bags, only a small suitcase, because he was not going on vacation or business. He was leaving his life behind. The terminal buzzed with travelers, yet for Deivy's family, time slowed. Every step toward the security line was a countdown to separation. News crews were there, documenting his story. Their cameras recorded the moment he bent down to pick up his daughter. Kira wrapped her arms around his neck, her tiny voice calling "Papa" as she clung to him. She was too young to fully understand why her father had to leave, but she sensed the tension in the air. Yisel's eyes filled with tears as she stood close, one hand on her husband's shoulder, the other on her daughter's back. To the cameras, Deivy admitted quietly, "What I want is to return." Yisel spoke with a voice that shook but carried conviction. She reminded anyone listening that her husband had no criminal record, that he had complied with every requirement placed on him, and that his only wish was to stay and care for their sick daughter. "He has done everything right," she said through tears, "and yet they are taking him away when our daughter needs him most." Her words were not just a plea for compassion, but also a cry of frustration at a system that seemed blind to their reality. For Kira, the moment was confusing. She had undergone open-heart surgery and was preparing for more. She did not yet understand legal terms like self-deportation or humanitarian visa. All she knew was that her father was leaving. As he hugged her one last time, she tugged on his shirt and asked when he would be back. He could not give her an answer, so he promised simply, "Papa will see you soon." His voice cracked, and those around them could feel the weight of that promise. The boarding call echoed through the terminal. Deivy kissed his wife, kissed his daughter again, and slowly walked toward security. He turned around once, then again, holding their image in his memory as long as he could. Yisel held Kira tightly, whispering comfort as the little girl reached out toward her father. Cameras captured the final glance before he disappeared behind the glass, a father stepping onto a plane not by choice, but by necessity. For the family left behind, it felt like a wound that would not heal. When the plane landed in Havana, Deivy felt the weight of what had just happened. He was back in Cuba after 7 years away, stepping onto soil that no longer felt like home. He made his way to Palmyra, a small town outside Cienfuegos, where family and old neighbors welcomed him with sympathy but also silence, because everyone knew what it meant to return under these circumstances. For Deivy, the streets of Palmyra felt smaller, the opportunities thinner, and the future clouded with uncertainty. Cuba's economic situation was dire. Shelves in stores were often empty, jobs were scarce, and inflation made daily survival difficult. Deivy quickly realized he had almost no way to support his wife and daughter from afar. He looked for work, but what he found paid so little that it would barely cover his own meals, let alone help with Kira's medical costs in Miami. The cruel irony was that in the U.S., he had been stable, law-abiding, and working, but in Cuba, he was powerless. Despite the separation, technology gave Deivy one fragile connection to his family: video calls. Every evening, he pulled out his phone to see Yisel and Kira on the screen. Sometimes Kira was smiling, showing him her toys or trying to tell him about her day. Other times she was in pain, recovering from surgery or hooked to medical devices. Deivy would smile through tears, offering comfort with words like "Papa is here," even though he was thousands of miles away. Each call was a lifeline, but also a reminder of everything he was missing. What broke him the most was not the lack of money or the poor conditions in Cuba, but the simple fact that he could not be there physically for his daughter. When she cried at night, he could not hold her. When she had a medical appointment, he could not drive her. When she asked for him, all he could give was a voice through a phone. Deivy confessed that every day felt like a test of patience and faith. His only strength came from the hope that this separation was temporary. Though he struggled in Palmyra, Deivy never stopped speaking about returning. He told friends and family that his dream was to walk back into Miami International Airport not as a man in exile, but as a father reunited with his daughter. His hope rested on the possibility of a humanitarian visa or a successful family petition. Until then, he would endure the hardship, because every sacrifice, every empty pocket, every sleepless night was made for Kira. His heart was not in Cuba. His heart was in Miami with his little girl. Back in Miami, Yisel Miguel Sardui faced a new reality. She was now both mother and father for little Kira. Every morning, she packed her daughter's medicine, checked her heart monitor, and prepared for another day of balancing care with endless phone calls to doctors and immigration lawyers. Deivy's absence was not just emotional, it was practical. He had been the one to hold Kira during hospital visits, to help at night when she struggled to breathe, to remind Yisel that she was not alone. Now, the silence in their home was overwhelming. Kira's condition remained delicate. At just 2 years old, she had already endured open-heart surgery, with more procedures planned for the future. Doctors warned that her recovery would be long and difficult. Yisel often sat in hospital waiting rooms clutching her phone, making sure Deivy could join on video, even if only for a few moments. Sometimes Kira would hold the phone to her chest, as if feeling her father's presence could help her heal. But the reality was that no screen could replace his arms wrapped around her. Yisel refused to give up. She contacted lawmakers, explained her family's story, and begged for help in securing a humanitarian visa for Deivy. So far, every request was denied. She also filed a family petition, since both she and Kira are U.S. citizens, but the paperwork moved slowly through the system. Each delay was crushing. She told reporters, "This is the most inconvenient time for them to take him away. Our daughter needs her father." Her voice carried both exhaustion and defiance, the sound of a mother fighting against forces much bigger than her. Every evening, Yisel set up her phone so Deivy could see his daughter before bedtime. Kira would smile and wave, sometimes blowing kisses through the screen, other times crying for her father. Yisel often hid her own tears, trying to stay strong for them both. After the calls ended, she would sit quietly, staring at the phone, wondering how much longer their family could endure this. The distance turned even the simplest things into heartbreak. Birthdays, doctor's visits, even bedtime stories were now shadows of what they should have been. Despite the hardship, Yissel's resolve only grew stronger. She worked part-time, managed Kira's care, and kept pushing for answers from lawyers and officials. She told friends and neighbors that her fight was not just for her husband, but for her daughter's right to grow up with her father by her side. "We will not give up," she said. Her determination became the backbone of the family, holding together the pieces of a life split across two countries. In Palmyra, Cuba, Deivy's days followed the same rhythm. Work was scarce, money was tight, and life felt like survival. Yet every thought circled back to his daughter. He replayed her laughter in his mind, remembered the softness of her tiny hand in his, and wondered if she was asking for him when she woke in the night. He admitted that his greatest fear was not hunger or hardship, but missing the milestones of her childhood. The birthdays, the first school day, the moments a father is supposed to be there for. Each evening, his phone buzzed with a video call from Miami. Those calls became sacred rituals. Sometimes Kira giggled and showed him her toys. Sometimes she lay in bed after a doctor's visit, her chest rising slowly with effort. Deivy would whisper, "Papa is here, always with you," even though he was hundreds of miles away. He smiled for her sake, hiding his tears until the call ended. For him, the calls were not just conversations, but lifelines, tiny bridges across an ocean. Despite the distance, the family remained united. Yissel updated him daily on Kira's medical progress and her petitions to lawmakers. She told him to stay strong, reminding him that every sacrifice was for their daughter's future. Deivy told her to keep faith, that one day he would walk back through the doors of Miami International Airport not as a deportee, but as a father returning home. Their bond was stretched thin but never broken. Love became the glue holding them together across borders. Hope lived in the paperwork slowly moving through the system. A family petition based on his wife and daughter's U.S. citizenship and appeals for a humanitarian visa. Progress was painfully slow, but each new letter or update gave them a flicker of belief. Advocates told them it might take time, but cases like his were not impossible. For Deivy, the fight was worth every moment of waiting. He told reporters, "What I want is to return." Those words were both a statement of fact and a vow to his daughter. Deivy's story is one of sacrifice, endurance, and unshakable love. A father torn from his daughter not by choice, but by circumstance, living in a country where he cannot provide, yet refusing to give up. Yissel's strength and Kira's courage inspire him to keep pushing for the day he can hold them again. The outcome remains uncertain, but their hope is unbreakable. This is not just a story about immigration or law. It is about a father's promise to his daughter that no matter the distance, no matter the years, he will find his way back to her. This is the end of that story. Now tell me in the comments, what's your most unbelievable story? I'll read out the funniest ones in the next video. Do not forget to hit a like button and subscribe. See you.